Imagine what it might feel like to spend 20 years of your life working to help free an innocent man from death row. Imagine you began that 20-year journey as a telemarketer, and along the way you learned how to be a voice for those who most need one, and you now find yourself as an award-winning publicist and CEO of your own media relations company. Join me today as I talk with Tracy Lamourie and hear her story and how she elevates and celebrates those with whom she works. Hi, this is Bob Poole. Welcome to the Water Cooler Hangout. For over 40 years, I've been helping people like you grow and prosper. Please join me and guests like Seth Godin, Guy Kawasaki, Lauren Cordain, Beverly and Tim Walden, Phil Elmore, and more as we share real-life stories about sales, marketing, leadership, creativity, and current events. Need help in moving to the next level? Find out how others have done it by listening to the Water Cooler Hangout. Hi, everyone. This is Bob Poole, and I'm here today with Tracy Lamourie. She's the founder and managing director of Lamourie Media. Now, I'm going to have to read a little bit about Tracy here because when I started looking into her background and researching her, I found this woman is a dynamo. She is a 2020 Universal Women's Network Woman of Inspiration winner for Women in Media. And by the way, good morning, Tracy.
Hi.
You're also the author of an upcoming book, right? Get Repped?
Yeah, Get Repped.
Build Your Brand with Effective Public and Media Relations. You're a well-known longtime advocate on a lot of important worldwide issues. You're an award-winning international publicist working across lots of industries, including entertainment to small businesses. You're passionate about amplifying important messages and being a voice for those who most need one. We're going to talk about that. And I also saw that you were recognized by the media around the world for a 20-year campaign that you waged that ultimately helped free an innocent man from death row. That's amazing.
Right there in Philadelphia. Yep.
Really? This was in Philadelphia? Yeah. Okay.
So actually, he's going to be the feature in Philadelphia Magazine any day now, the next couple of days. So any listeners that are local and, want to kind of go back and do a deep dive on that story, you're going to see it in your paper like tomorrow or the next day.
Well, let's jump into that. What's his name?
So Jimmy Dennis, and we got involved with that case in 1999. He was convicted in 1992, in October 92, of a murder that took place in 1991, which he was factually innocent, had absolutely no involvement, and the world knows that now. He was released in 2017 with a precedent-setting legal decision by Judge Anita Brody that, just completely said what we've been saying for 20 years, and this was a case of wrongful, actual, factual innocence, just the absolute wrong man. And I encourage people to go and just dig deep into that story and for the actual details. But we got involved in 1999. It's funny, there was a little website where prisoners could pay to be listed, and it was, I guess, a pen pal site. And he had said, I'm not looking for a pen pal. I'm not looking for a girlfriend. This is literally my only way to get my message out to the world. And my husband and I had, used to do a radio show. Our radio show didn't exist anymore, but we had, it was the early days of the internet. And we were still kind of trying to have a voice and do that stuff. And I don't know what it was where we found that site, because we certainly weren't engaged with any kind of prisoner justice work or any knowledge, anything. That was not in our, in our brains. We did work in anti-racism and other injustice stuff, but we didn't know about the death penalty. And for some reason, I don't know what it was, but we answered that. I still can't explain why we did that. And he sent back 18 pages of tightly written, both sides with all the details and all kinds of legal documentation and everything. And we didn't know what to do with that because we weren't lawyers. We didn't know what a publicist was. We were literally in marketing and, just like entry-level marketing at the time. And but we had the power of the internet. So we made a website, and I learned how to write a press release on Alta Vista. Remember Alta Vista? Pre-Google, I clearly remember going and like clearly how to write a press release and, for a media release. I was always a writer, but I didn't know how to do that. I wrote that up. We sent it across America. It's hard to get attention for a prisoner that's still convicted. But it got some international attention. Ultimately, we ended up getting a team that cared. And then a big law firm that was looking for a case of factual innocence because of the buzz that we created they heard about him when they were looking for a case of real innocence. They came out of Washington, D.C., Arnold and Porter, and it still took 17 years because that's how long it takes. 17 years with 7 lawyers, doing all this and giving all the information and all. And then, I really encourage people to read the legal stuff because it's another, it could be hours we could talk about it, a deep dive, and it's a whole thing that will just blow your mind. But ultimately, our part of it was, we stayed, kept on doing the messaging. We weren't publicists again. We were just telemarketers, but we spent hours every day, doing all this. And then ultimately that also taught us about, got us disturbed about the death penalty in America. So we started an organization in our 20s and ended up getting through that media messaging that we did, not knowing anything about it, on CNN, MSNBC, Court TV, A&E, all that stuff. And ultimately my part, in terms of the business part of the story, is it took me 15 years. It wasn't until 2012 that it hit me that for the last 15 years, while I've been in marketing and sales, I had developed incredible skills that were actually marketable, and I went, oh, shoot, I guess I'm a publicist. I mean, I've gotten us on all the TV stations I named, so I decided to put out my shingle and become a publicist, just started sort of doing it freelance, got a couple of clients, started a general partnership with my husband, got more clients, did better and better. And then ultimately this year in COVID, we started Lamourie Media as a corporation. We incorporated, but more importantly, we still talk to Jimmy Dennis every single day. If you Google Rolling Stone, he was in Rolling Stone magazine a year ago. He's recording right now, and he's made some amazing music. His first song was called You Said, then All You Went and Did It. Then he had a song about, this year with everything that's happened about race in America called Hate the Skin I'm In. And then at the end of the year, he put out a song called Tears This Year, just like a message of hope, because his thing was always never, never give up. Yeah. And he didn't. And he put out Tears This Year, a message of hope, just because we've all been going through such a dark, discouraging, afraid time when nobody knows what's going to happen next with COVID and everything. And so, so we always say you never know what's going to happen. At that time, we were just literally entry-level telemarketers. He was some guy on death row nobody was listening to. We were like, okay, we're going to change this. And then with help, we started like that. Then over 25 years, things changed. And now, by the time he got out, here we were, international publicists. And now 2 years later, award-winning international publicists. And so his never, never give up, I now turn into, we didn't get this far to only get this far. So when he's dealing with PTSD and the struggles that you have after, nightmares of 25 years of that I still can't even conceive, I always say, you know what, you didn't get this far, to only get this far. And when people ask me for my favorite quote for business too, or it's the same thing. Whoever you are, whatever your story is, doesn't have to be that dramatic. Wherever you are right now, whether it's where you want to be, or it's, or you just got up that day and were able to just struggle through another day. You didn't make it through everything you've done up to here to only, fall here or to drop here or to jump off a cliff here. You didn't do all that. So you have to keep on going. And there's always going to be a better day.
It's a great story, amazing story. And he spent over 20 years in prison, huh?
So 25 years.
25 years, amazing.
1991 till 2017.
Yeah, well, definitely. So Philadelphia Magazine, we'll have to be watching for that and definitely follow up on it. So yeah, so you went from telemarketing, you're saying, marketing to
entry level,
to becoming an activist, to founding a public relations company that's now worldwide. What a crazy story, huh? What a trip!
Isn't that? You couldn't write that, right?
No, what a trip! Well,
it's funny because when like Rolling Stone, for example, when they interviewed us. Not about anything to do with me, but about the Jimmy Dennis story. And Jimmy's like, well, you got to talk to Tracy and Dave because they're the people that started it all. And so I'm telling Rolling Stone about all this. And then at the very end of it, I'm like, and by the way, you got to hear this. I'm not making this about me, but it's so weird that when we started that, we were just telemarketers. And now I'm this international publicist. And he was just some guy on death row nobody was listening to. And now he's recording music and Rolling Stone's talking about it. And he was on a panel with Ja Rule and Naughty by Nature, whatever these things kids are today, talking about injustice in America and race in America. And like, who would have thought that everybody would have said, like we were crazy to even deal with this prisoner? Why were we even helping this person? I remember my father saying when I was 28, if you guys spent as much time building a business, because we were not thinking of a business then, we weren't building any business, we were working for other people. But my dad said, and he was right, if you guys spent as much time building a business as you do with this death row prisoner stuff, you would be a millionaire by the time you're 30. And I remember at 29 saying, Yeah, you're right. Because I'm good. But you know what? That's not what I'm doing right now. So I'm glad that we had that trajectory. I think it's a better way to spend my 20s and 30s. And, now I'm on the track thinking about building my business for my kids and becoming maybe a millionaire. We'll see, maybe later. I'm 50, I can think about that now. But I'm glad that I used my youth and my passions the way that I did. And I never, now it sounds epic. Oh my God, you did for 20 years, you helped a man and you freed him from death row. It sounds heroic and epic, but nobody is a hero and nobody's really epic. Everything, you just do it day by day. It just came in our, I feel like we did something that a lot of people would have done if they knew they could. Everybody cares, but nobody feels empowered. And I think any success I've had in life, whether it's PR or whether, activists or whatever, is because I raised my voice and I felt my power and I wasn't afraid to use it. And I think that's where we all fail, is that we don't know that. We just sit there and think, oh, I'm just this person. It's other people that are on TV. It's other people that are quoted about their work. It's other people that get the awards, but it's a matter of just putting yourself in that mix.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people that feel that way. I guess the majority, especially right now, with politics in the United States for one thing, and just the whole the whole COVID, all this last year I think I want to say most people don't feel very empowered. They feel like that they're just going to go along to get along, kind of thing, So, but I read something about your company. You said that you founded the company on kindness.
Someone else said that about me.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know that was going to be the title. I was like, oh my goodness. That was when Prosperity Press, who I write for, I met that reporter or that editor pitching my clients, because that's what I do, is pitch all my amazing clients and their amazing stories. And they had covered some of my clients, and did those stories. And then the editor and I got to talking, and I guess she Googled me. I don't know what it was, but one day she said to me she wanted to write a story about me. And I was like, oh, really? Oh, okay. I'm focused on getting them to write stories about my client, but she did, and she did like 2 months to write it, and I was just shocked when I read it. It was such a deep dive, like she'd done a deep research. She was talking about like all kinds of things, that I'd almost forgotten about 20 years ago, and that was the title of her. I would never have said that, but that's what somebody else said about me. Yeah.
Well,
I guess they were talking about Jimmy Dennis.
Yeah, I think that holds true from what I've read so far. So, how has COVID affected you this past year in your ability to meet with clients and prospective clients? What are you doing to network?
So this is a lot of the way I'm networking, but at the beginning it was pretty terrifying. In March, everything fell apart. Everyone's plans changed. And I had, last year the year before, we did all kinds of traveling, all kinds of speaking, all kinds of, work for clients in different places, 9 different cities and 5 countries and 4 continents. And all of a sudden, no, it's going to be Hamilton Mountain. But, so everything looked like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? 80% of our work was suddenly gone in March. And I thought that's like I was only thinking about the speaking engagements and the entertainment stuff and how are we ever going to survive and all that. But, our government actually did a really good thing. We had some small business help right at the very beginning, where if you had an income last year and this year you didn't get this much, if you were able to make 1,000 and still, anyway, whatever it was. So the first month, 5 weeks where everything stopped, I was, a lot of I was able to get one CERB check, which is like a $2,000 check for people who are doing good business. It doesn't look at what your bank was. It was just your income had stopped. And money was supposed to come in, it stopped, so we accepted 1 or 2 of those checks. And then after that, I sat there and thought, okay, instead of sitting there staring at the computer and watching all the leaders and just freaking out like everybody else, if I lost 80% of my work, I still have 20% of it. So rip yourself away from the television, because I was in that loop like everybody else, being scared, right? Get away from the television and hit the computer screen, not the Facebook, but the work. So do the 20% of the work I still had. And then after that, just get in that work mindset again and start to think, the word of the year is pivot. But I started to have to think about people are still going to need things promoted. What needs to be promoted now? So I started thinking about, helping authors instead, because maybe this is going to be a good time for authors. People are going to get sick of Netflix and, want to read. So we started doing that. And then also, ultimately, as the months went by, everybody's looking to do something. So anybody who could do something at home, a lot of people were starting new businesses or starting online components to their businesses or whatever. So I was just, 90% of my work is referral and recommendations. And I was just really lucky that some new business came my way, and then I met a few, neat people on LinkedIn and all that. So I've been able to stay afloat, but we're in an uncertain time. It's taking, working really hard and working all over the place and putting a lot of things together to do it. And, we had a year. But we're lucky, too, that we're a small business of 2 people. We didn't have a bunch of employees. We didn't have an office to rent. We didn't have all this overhead that makes, a lot of my friends and my businesses right now who are doing really well. Like I was talking to a gentleman yesterday who was apparently making $300,000 a year 2 years ago. You think, oh, he'd be fine. But the problem is now he's bleeding all that out because he owned clinics. He still has clinics where he has to pay the rent. He still has 4, skeleton staff he has to pay. He still has machines he has to pay the cost of. So now there's not, and his client base has gone from 30 to 40 patients a day to 5 or 10. So those people, I feel like they're doing even worse. The people who were maybe doing really well, but they had all this structure and all this stuff to maintain. And now it's like, not only are you not making the money, but you're bleeding it, it's gone. So I don't know. And moving forward, my business is dependent on other people having, money to promote their businesses. Right. So 2020 was good. What will 2021 look like? I don't know. But I'm doing what I'm telling my clients and everybody else is as much opportunity as closed. There's a lot different opportunity that's open now that we're in the Zoom world. So if there's a lot more opportunities, but it's for podcasts and networking, but for speaking engagements and panels and things like that. And now to be on a prestigious panel, they're not flying anybody and putting anybody up in hotels. So the barrier is maybe a little bit lower. You still have to be amazing as a speaker and all that. They're not putting crap on stage, but the barrier might be lower in terms of they have to fly you there to get you on that panel. So now take advantage of those times, because then later in 2022 or whenever the world goes normal again, you will have on your resume, if you're a real estate agent, I spoke at the International Real Estate Symposium in Tokyo, Japan, and you did. Whether or not it was, by Zoom, that was still what they had that year, and you were a speaker. So find those opportunities, aggressively find opportunities that do still exist and that may not have existed before, and work them. Because right now, everybody from the international publicist to my client, the 40-year television famous broadcaster, to everybody, they're all doing the same thing right now. We're all sitting around in our living room, wondering what's going to happen next and wondering what the opportunities are going to be. So reach out, don't be shy, and everybody is in the same boat right now, so it's kind of an equalizer, in some ways.
Yeah, I'm part of a kind of a mastermind group that is working on basically getting businesses online. So, your business, I used to do a lot of speaking. I used to do a lot of seminars and workshops. But, you can't do that now, so that you have to get them online. So a lot of people are doing that right now, and they're getting help. And for some people, that's daunting. If you don't have a tech background and suddenly you're faced with it, how do you get through that? So I actually have a friend up in Canada, too. I should have mentioned you're actually, when you said your government, you're actually in Canada near Toronto.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
it's a little bit different than what I'm understanding of what they're. So we've had, at the very beginning, and the reason I mentioned that, too, so we had the I guess, ability to breathe a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, so know that if you don't have 2,000, because the barrier was pretty low. The barrier for CERB was, if you had made, I can't remember what it was. Oh yeah, if you made $5,000 the year before. So it was even good for gig workers or, artists or something, right? If you had made $5,000 the year before, and this month, your income is going to be less than 2,000, was it 2,000? I can't remember now because I literally went less than $1,000, I think it was, or less than $2,000, because all of a sudden all your contracts disappeared and everything. It didn't matter. They didn't ask how much you had in the bank. It didn't matter. Poverty. It was literally just you would have expected your normal income. It didn't come. Now, how are you going to pay? So there were people that I had worked with who, were extremely prestigious people in Canada who had, radio histories, who had run businesses, who had whatever. And, one gentleman a little bit older, and all of a sudden, this happened. He's had to take CERB, which the benefit for the last couple of months. So it's not a benefit for people that weren't working. It's like that already existed. We had all those benefits for people. This is a benefit for existing workable businesses that were running, that were making income, that expected to make that income that month, and then all of a sudden, you can't go into work. So there was that, and I didn't need it, but it was there, so it was good. So I think from a mental health perspective for everybody, it was just felt like we're being taken care of. If this happens, we can go and get that. And you'd have at least your basic mortgage taken care of, you know? So for that 6 weeks, don't panic, just go and get back and do your work. And then after that, I didn't need to take it anymore because it was like everything just exploded and we had that much, you know, business coming in. But it's because I was aggressive about getting it. And I don't have to go look for client, I don't place ads, but I mean, I just kept on working, work to what, and then I'd get, you know, do really whatever little bit of business came in, do it really well. So someone recommends me and, you know, just keep on. I just feel like I don't know how we did it, but we got through where 2020 has been, you know, we incorporated, we stayed stable. It ended up being not a bad year for us financially, though a hugely stressful one.
Yeah,
You know.
really. So,
I mean, not like huge profits, but I mean,
yeah,
stable, you
right.
know, like stable.
Well, stable is important right now. What about what do you what does a publicist do exactly? Maybe we should talk about that for her
Oh,
clients. What do
yeah.
you do?
So recently I thought of this little phrase just came to me and it encapsulates 100% what I do. So basically elevate and celebrate what other people are doing. I amplify what other people are doing, the important work that other people are doing. So as you said at the beginning, you know, everyone thinks about celebrities and I work with, you know, filmmakers and authors and, you know, public speakers and all that stuff. But people are often surprised by the rest of my client list, which is a small business. When I look at it right now, I have a podiatrist, a health person, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a diversity expert, a luxury real estate guy, a marketer, a neuromarketer, an SEO guy. So just people in all kinds of regular businesses. And it's like there's, you know, everyone knows about advertising, but in terms of, you know, entrepreneurs, 90% of them don't realize they're leaving all kinds of earned media, free media opportunities on the table where they would be interviewed as a source, an expert, you know, and also, you know, you've heard about press releases and media advisory. So that's about half of what I do is, you know, strategically writing up stories, people's stories, basically of their product or of themselves or what their activities or whatever they're doing, to convince the media to interview them, whether it's newspaper, television, radio, podcast. And the other half of that is keeping an eye on the pulses, all kinds of services from, you know, pod match services to services that mainstream media use when they're assigned a story and they need a source. And some of those are free and some of those are paid. And there's, you know, mostly the time to go through them all and to know how to pitch well, because everything's a pitch. But I find those opportunities, and the media is going to already be doing an article and insert my clients into them. Like this month, for example, alone, I got using those sources. I got my one client in New York Times and one in Reader's Digest. So big mainstream, you know, newspapers and magazines and television. So I just find opportunities basically to get my clients in media, to get them on panels, to get them in the mix for awards. So basically people are doing good work. They hire me to elevate them in the public eye so people can see their good work, and that, you know, that obviously if they're in business, that brings them more clients. It just it elevates them above their competitors and brings people their way, essentially.
So elevate and celebrate. Sounds great.
It just came to me one day, and that's exactly what it is. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what, you know, I was going to ask you about your fork in the moment, you know, fork in the road moment, I should say. So when you made a decision to actually take this path, but it sounded to me like it wasn't a decision. It just kind of was organic that you took on this.
Except when there was a light bulb moment, though, that it's so weird. Because like I said, you know, you hear that it was totally organic there. I just started doing the messaging and I was good at it. And I was, you know, still a telemarketer in sales for 15 years, not even relating what I'm doing here as an advocate to anything to do with any kind of business or whatever. And then one day, it was about in 2012, we just sold a big house and we'd come back to Toronto. We were renting an apartment for like 3 months, trying to figure out what we're going to buy in Toronto, or we're going to move to Hamilton, where we else we move, what we're going to do. And so I was sitting there just doing my, you know, at the time I was under contract, working from home, but under contract for basically telesales. It was basically telesales. It was inside sales for a company that was their existing clients. So it wasn't cold calling, but still, it was something I didn't care about. Something to do with ISO, whatever, you know. I mean, you know, nothing to do with my world or my life. Just calling, hi, yes, so your ISO 9000, yes, sure, okay. And so I was sitting there and I did it all. I didn't hate it because I was able to work at home. So I was doing that for years and years, for 10 years, because I could stay home, buy my computer, still do my other stuff that I cared about and get paid for that marketing, whatever, right? Um, so there I was sitting down at my computer, ready for another work day of this marketing stuff, ready to make 20 calls an hour, which was my job for the last 15 years. And I suddenly went, I don't know what it was I don't know what happened the moment before that sparked that, but I suddenly literally realized like if you had a light bulb over my head, it'd be that moment at the desk where I was like, wait a minute. There's a thing called a publicist. What they do is get people in the media. Wait a minute. I literally had 15 years where I just got these nobodies who are not lawyers, who should, who are up in Canada, who should have. So why are you talking about the American death penalty? You're not even lawyers, just a couple of kids, a couple of activists in your basement in Canada. Let me put you on CNN, MSNBC, Court TV. So clearly we were good with messaging, right? So it just hit me one day that, wait a minute, what? And it was that moment, it was a thought that happened within that, and then within that half hour, I literally said, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. And then from that moment, I did not have another hour where I made 20 calls an hour. I literally went over to Elance and figured out how can I do this? How can I started calling myself a publicist, looking for contracts. At that time it was it's called Upwork now. Elance was a freelance, like a free cycle. And I made like $7,000 on that in like 3 months, just going really, really low, pricing really low, good pitch, and doing excellent work till people, gave me the review. And then after that, I had one or two more clients. And then I took my life off of Elance, and I started in the real world saying, no, you know what? I can do your PR. I can do, and just doing it by getting out there and not being afraid and saying, no, this is what I can do. You should charge really low until I didn't have to charge low anymore. Right. Mm-hmm. But it was literally that moment. Like, I don't know. And I can't even remember now because I know I didn't make any more calls. Like it was literally just focus shift now. And from that moment, that's what it was. And so that, I don't know, I'm mad at myself now that I didn't think about that 10 years before, but it's okay because that wasn't supposed to be the way it was. Like, and now that's just the story is. I worked for 15 years as a telemarketer. He hit me one day, 2 years before Jimmy Dennis finally got out. Wait a minute. I can do something different too. So by the time he got out there, I'm like, oh, by the way, that activist that was helping you, she's now a publicist. And you're a musician? Awesome. So now you're my client. So we joke now. It's like, now he's my client. I'm his publicist, same relationship. He used to just tell us, I need you to do this and this and this when he was on death row because he had those 15-minute calls and then they were going to be cut off. Now it's the same.
Good stuff. So what's the best thing do you think the average person can do to make that change, in their lives? So someone wants to make a change, someone wants to do something different. It's on their list, and yet they're afraid. They think they don't have the power. What's the best thing they can do?
That's what I say. I always say everybody doesn't have, obviously, that crazy death row story, would go, oh, look what I did. But every single person has a passion, something that they do when the 9 to 5 isn't happening, something that they actually care about. Whether that's, sports, whether that's, and say it's sport, you can't be an athlete. Doesn't matter. There's a million things in the sports world have you even thought of that you could make your career, that you would love your job every day instead of hating your 9 to 5. And that's just one example. I'm not a sports girl at all, but if that was your passion, a common passion, instead of going 9 to 5, find out there's a million jobs in that world. There's a million jobs in the world of entertainment if that's your passion. There's a million jobs in, and also just don't be afraid to build your own stuff because, I had zero, honestly, I didn't have $100 probably in my bank account when I started my company. I didn't even start a company. I started it, just to get just start what I was doing. Started making money out of what I was doing. I started a company 5 years later, and then we incorporated 5 years after that. But originally, I'm just like, okay, how can I make some money and change my life and not be doing what I was doing before? We all have the same opportunity. I mean, right now there's a screen that's in front of all of us, and the whole world is on it. There's a million opportunities in terms of finding the jobs or in terms of finding the connection, finding the mentors, connecting, showing people what you can do, starting to, if it starts with writing something on Medium, just be who you, like, just don't dream it. Like the Rocky Horror Picture Show says, don't dream it, be it. Right. So instead of just thinking about how it's so far away and something you'd like to do, just start today. What could you do today that gets you there? Like that moment when I had that light bulb thing and I was like, yeah, instead of planning, okay, I think I'd like to, maybe I'll go to school. Maybe I'll save some money and go to school. That's okay. It's never going to happen, or maybe going to happen in a year. I'm going to dream. right now, today, what can I do? Google and find someone who's done what you've done or what you want to do. Reach out to them. Learn about that world. What part of that world could you get into? Is there something you can do? Medium, and start writing. If you're a writer, Medium looks just like news articles. It looks just like Huffington Post, but nobody's telling you what you can and can't write. So write something on there. Build your journey as a thought leader. Start to talk about what you want, be who you want to be.
Right.
Just do it. Not fake it till you make it. Just be it. Do it. Start it.
Good
Believe in
advice.
yourself. It all comes down to, to actually believing in yourself. If you have an idea, you're never going to get there if you just sit there and tell yourself you can't. If you have and the idea doesn't have to be a big invention. I mean, it could just be a thought that I would like to be doing something else. Just take the first step and see how it looks from there. Because, it looks far away from here, but if I can find a way to take one step closer, then I'm that much closer. And also when I look beside me, I see other things that are going to get me close. You just have to keep on going. So literally think about what you love and actually, I mean, some of this stuff when you talk to successful people about what they've done and then you ask them how, it often sounds very cliche when they answer, right? But these things are true. Like, it's actually true. I read that book, The Secret. I thought it was crap because I already knew everything in it. I was like, everyone was like, oh, you got to read this. And I finally did. And I was like, yeah, I was reading going, yeah.
Right.
Okay, yeah,
Right.
I know that. Okay, I know, because everything in it is really very, I don't even remember it now, but it was a huge thing 10 years ago. I only bring it up because everyone was like, oh my God, the answer to life. And sure, it was. But, it's all really simple stuff. It's like, really believe you can do it, because if you don't believe you can do it, you can't.
Right.
And like people will say, people, how many people told us not to, like, you can't do anything. You can't change the world. You can't help that guy on death row. You can't do it. Maybe you can't. Like someone said to my husband years ago, you can't change the world. And he said, you know what? Maybe you can't, but I can. I already have, and I will again. Doesn't mean I can change the whole world for everybody, but I can change things, big things, make a difference for people, for different, and maybe you can't because you don't believe you can, but like.
Yep. It is all about belief. And today is the best day to start. I talked to a young lady yesterday on a podcast, and we were talking about what's the best time to start. And it was like, well, today would be the best time to start. Okay. So
People say to me, when's the best time to get a publicist if you get? I'm like, there's no, or to start doing media work anytime. You're the actor. Like, it's not about if you have a book launch, or like you may have different things you're doing around your book launch or your business launch. But in terms of building yourself as that thought leader, and I hate that term, but there's no other. It's you know what I mean when I say it, meaning like speaking as an expert in your field,
right.
Speaking about differentiate from just doing it your job to actually talking about it and educating people about it and all that.
So what's 2021 going to bring? What's the plan?
For the world? Who knows? I don't know. I'm hoping it brings travel. I have New York City booked for March, and Jimmy Dennis said to me, no, you shouldn't come here in March, because COVID's all over the place there, and it's pretty okay here. And I don't know, but we were hoping to come to New York in March and to hit Philadelphia and to come and see Jimmy a bit, because we have not actually seen him since he was released in 2017, because our life was so crazy for a year and a half. We're like, we got to come see you, and then oh my God. Of course, COVID, pretty. So now, and he's isolating very carefully because he's got asthma, and we don't need any kind of, we want him well and getting the money that he deserves from the time that was stolen from him, and be able to hopefully enjoy a couple of years of life, and not with COVID.
You're right. No, not with COVID. So what about business plans? Any special thing you're going to implement? Anything different? Or are you just going to keep on doing?
Well, I'm hoping that this is again, COVID, has put a crimp in everything. So I'm not quite sure. A lot of things depend how things develop because right now businesses are closed, open. I wouldn't want to, I don't know. It's just confusing, but I would like to become a job creator this year. This is my next plan, and that's a learning curve too, because I'm really good at what I do, and I'm, easy to get new clients and all that stuff. But to understand the difference between, trade, this is really sensitive work and something that I can really trust and do really good work, and to not be freaked out about celebrities and all that stuff. It's like, it's a different it's a really important and I don't know, but I think a lot of it is, with entrepreneurs, I bet you can have a whole show on entrepreneurs having to learn how to give up what they do to train. Like I'm having a lot of trouble getting understanding how it turns from a business that you pay me and I do the work and that's my work in both ways, whether in the ownership of it and also in the pay of it, to turning that into like this entity that we've created now that's a corporation that could have other employees as well. And how do I don't know, it's just a big mystery to me on how you jump from the entrepreneur to that, and still have the flow with all your, I don't know, it's just confusing to me. You should have a show about that one day.
Well, I
Just
should.
educate everyone how turn your entrepreneurship into like a job create, because I know I can do it. I have the power to create like 20 jobs
Sure.
because I have no trouble getting the clients, especially with my resume now, right? It's easy to get clients. Only thing that limits me with getting new clients is how much work can I do.
Right.
And I don't want to try to just hire some random person, then get a bunch of new clients, and I'm stuck with too much work for me, but nobody else who can do it well. So yeah, that's what I hope to, for 2021, I hope to get my head around with some understanding, some help about how to make that leap, because it's really important to me. I think it's important to be a job creator. That's something I've never thought about before, but now that I have that power to generate money and to generate jobs, that's kind of an activist thing too, which is a new thing for me to be thinking of in that kind of way,
You stay awake nights thinking about these things.
How to do it right and how to do it ethically, because I'm an activist, not a corporate, so I want to marry those two and make them, activists in a good way. Like I'm not a young flag waving that, but that's where I came from, is I care about things. I never want to just be focused on only making money all of a sudden, especially when what got me here was helping a guy off a death row. I have to respect that and honor that.
Yep. Well, you know what? I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do in 2021, and we're going to have to meet up and talk about that. I might take you up on the entrepreneur thing, by the way, because I have been a serial entrepreneur my whole life. That's what I've done my whole life, is start companies and help other people start companies. And your questions are very pertinent, because some entrepreneurs cannot make that shift to.
I'm having so much honestly, it's very hard to understand how to do it. Like I know it sounds like easy, like, oh well, you just get more clients, but no, then there's it gets just confusing. Making my brain, but I know that's what I have to do to continue to do good in the world and also to expand my business.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's get together again. I've really enjoyed talking with you today, but I want to catch up, and we're going to have to do this again, maybe after you go to New York, or you get through the first few months of this year, because I want to hear what you're doing. I'm really, really fascinated by all the things you're doing. So,
thank you so much.
Well, thank you for being here today, very much, Tracy.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here today. Especially, I appreciate being in Philadelphia and getting the chance to talk about Jimmy as well.
Yeah, very good.
I've been doing that for 25 years. So like I said, it's hard to stop. 20 years, part of my life was like, let me tell you about this guy who's innocent on death row. Now he's free. So it's a whole different story now. But now it's a good story, right? And there's still more people like that are caught up in that system, and he's still fighting to help. If anybody's interested in that and thinks, wow, she did such an amazing thing, you could do that too. There's some people that need your help still. So when you come and look for my, TracyLamourie.com and everything. Also go and look, if I could ask the audience to look at Jimmy Dennis music and go and listen to what he's saying, because he's got a message for all of us that never give up. If that means something for real when somebody like that. So if he can get through all that and still be standing, we can get through all this. So let's do it.
I'll put the links on all the pages, and so everyone will be able to listen to the podcast. Wonderful. And go to the pages and see the link to your site and to Jimmy also. So he's
awesome. Thank you.
Again, thank you very much for being. Okay. Have a great week.
Thanks, Bob.